Okay, can you tell me the difference of sentence and speech? Or can you tell me how many tenses are there? If actually sentences are 5, then speeches are also 5, but in meaning. And to express the sentences according to the speech category, speeches are 2, that are direct speech and indirect speech. The change of direct to indirect and indirect to direct is the process of narration. So let's start our class, passage narration. Hi everybody, this is Asif Iqbal from Mohammadpur branch, Milestone School and College. Today our class is about narration. First of all, to define a narration, you have to understand the speeches and sentences. And that is, all the speeches are definitely some sentences. But all the sentences are not speeches all the time. Because speeches need a speaker. When a speaker said some sentences, or when a speaker says some sentences, that is a speech and that is a direct speech. And when a speaker said that sentences, or when a speaker said that it was sentences, that is indirect speech. So, narration is of 2 types, direct speech or direct narration. It is the original speech of the speaker without changing any meaning. It is always written in the inverted comma. Example, she said, I want the best now. And indirect speech or indirect narration is the transformed speech of someone else. Examples, she told that she wanted the best then. So, narration is all about the 5 basic changes. Number 1, change of reporting verb said. Number 2, change of connectors. And number 3, change of persons. Number 4, change of tenses. And some adverbs will be changed. These 5 words can make use of a narration.
Reported speech. Examples. I played computer games yesterday. Asif said. It's a direct speech. Asif said that he had played computer games the day before. It's an indirect speech. Next comes, she said, I am going to Paris tomorrow. Indirect speech, she told that she was going to Paris the next day. After that, he said, I cannot help you because I have got too much to do. Indirect speech, he told that he couldn't help me because he had too much to do. All the examples belong to assertive sentence. Next, in interrogative sentence, when we have to ask somebody using auxiliary verbs, we can say like this. He said, do you want to have a meal? In direct speech, he asked the lady if she wanted to have a meal. Next, he said, can I use your phone? In direct speech, he asked me if he could use my phone. After that, he said, can't you help me to do this? In direct speech, he asked me if I couldn't help him to do that. After that, it comes WH questions. Examples, she said, when do you have to go to work? In direct speech, she asked me when I had to go to work. Again, she said, where are you going? In direct speech, she asked me where I was going. Up next, we have to concern about imperative sentence when there are order, advice, forbid, and request. So let's start the examples. First one, please do me a favor. She said to me. In direct speech, she requested me to do her a favor. Next, do this at once. She said to me. She ordered me to do that at once. Next, don't do this now. She said to me. In direct speech, she forbade me to do that then. And the last one, always help the poor. She said to me. In direct speech, she advised me to help the poor always. Here I have to mention a thing. Please is the word which is expressing you a request, where there is nothing to say, just an order like do it or do this or come here or go there. That goes to an order sentence. Next comes don't started sentence. When imperative starts with don't, it expresses something which is forbid. Forbid means somebody is telling you not to do something. And always or never is the word which expresses advice. It goes to the first pattern of imperative. Next comes the sentences with let. Direct speech. Let the man come in and have dinner with us, Rose said to Mira. In direct speech, Rose suggested Mira that the man should go in and have dinner with them. Here I have to mention let expresses you suggestion. Next, direct speech. Let her post a letter, Rohan said to me. So in direct speech, Rohan suggested me that she should post a letter. According to the narrative style question pattern, you have to mention suggested and you have to mention should instead of let. Next comes imperative in last portion, where let's is the starting word. Let's make a plan to go on a study tour, Mizan said to his friends. In direct speech, Mizan proposed to his friends that they should make a plan to go on a study tour. Again, let's arrange a journey by boat, Ronnie said to them. In direct speech, Ronnie proposed to them that they should arrange a journey by boat. Here I have to mention let's is the expression of a proposal. That is why reporting verb is changed with proposed to, and to is mandatory here. And as usual, let will be narrated as should. That is the pattern of imperative. And next comes optative sentence, where may is the starting word. Let's look at the example. Father said to Mira, "May Allah keep you in happiness all the time." So father wished Mira that Allah might keep her in happiness all the time. Might is the word which should be placed in the sense of optative. Next example. Direct speech. If I could be the owner of the house, he said. In direct speech, he wished that he might be the owner of the house. We can see in optative sentences, might is the mandatory auxiliary verb. Next, at the last portion, exclamatory sentence. Direct speech. Abid said, "Alas, I have failed in the exam." In direct speech, Abid exclaimed with sorrow that he had failed in the exam. Next, direct speech. He said, "What a nice trip it was." In direct speech, he exclaimed with joy that it had been a nice trip. Here I have to mention, was the verb. It was narrated into had been. This is the style of verb change in narrative style. Past indefinite will be transformed into past perfect. And the last sentence is, Sarah said, "How sweet its smell is." In direct speech, Sarah exclaimed with wonder that its smell was very sweet. So it was all of the pattern examples of sentences in direct and in indirect speech. So we can see the change of tenses, that is present indefinite was changed into past indefinite, as well as continuous was changed into past continuous, perfect was changed into past perfect, and present perfect continuous was changed into past perfect continuous. So what about the past tenses? Past indefinite will be transformed as past perfect. Past continuous will be transformed as past perfect continuous. But past perfect and past perfect continuous will remain same. And in future, will or shall will be narrated as would. can will be narrated as could, and may will be changed as might. These are the basic changes of tenses. And next comes the miscellaneous changes. These are called adverbs that are to be changed in narrative style. You have to write there instead of here. Now will be changed as then. This will be that. These will be those. Today will be that day. Tonight will be that night. Yesterday will be the previous day. Last night will be the previous night. Last week will be changed as the previous week. Tomorrow will be changed as the next day. The next week will be changed as the following week. Ago will be narrated as before. Thus will be changed as so. Here you have to remember, was will be changed in indirect speech as had been. If you have one auxiliary verb as the principal verb and the auxiliary verb is had, then you have to make double had in indirect speech. Think had was the past indefinite tense and you have changed had as past perfect tense. Come will be go. Must will be changed as had to or must. That musts, those musts which are not to be changed or you are bound to make it sure, that will be remain same. And some silly musts that can be changed as had to. If you have sir or miss, then you have to respect, you have to show respect, and you have to write respectfully. In final, if you have yes or no, then you have to write replied in the affirmative or replied in the negative. So finally, changes in pronouns. I told you, I, you will be changed as he, she, they. And there are some connectors at a glance. In assertive, you will have to write that. In interrogative, you will have to write if or WH. In imperative, you will have to write to, or for those lates, you have to write that as connector. And optative and exclamatory will require that. Thank you.
Now everyone, let's come to the point of passage narration. Example 1.
Passage narration number 1. The teacher said to the student, "Have you prepared your lesson today?" "No, sir," replied the student. The teacher said, "Why didn't you prepare your lesson?" The student replied, "I was suffering from headache yesterday. I shall do my homework tomorrow." Here it is, the answer. The teacher asked the student if he had prepared his lesson that day. Look at the changes. Asked is the first change of said to. If is placed here as the sentence was started with auxiliary verb and the sentence was interrogative. And then he had prepared means the past perfect tense. It was written for the present perfect tense. His lesson that day was replaced for today. For the second line, no sir. In narrative style, you have to write replied in the negative. And if it is sir, then you have to write respectfully. So the answer is, he respectfully replied in the negative. Next in question, when the teacher was again asking something, in answer, the teacher again asked. As the question was started with why, and the question was in direct speech, as the question was interrogative and the question was started with WH word, in answer, the teacher again asked why he had not prepared. In narrative style, you should know didn't is changed with hadn't, as the past indefinite is changed with past perfect tense. So the change of tense here, didn't prepare, was changed into had not prepared. Next, the student replied that he had been suffering from headache the previous day. As the question was in assertive sentence and the tense was past continuous, the change of words replied that he had been. Had been is the change of was. And yesterday is changed with the previous day. When it is the second speech, then you have to use and added. And you should write the sentence like this and added that he would do his work the next day. Here, tomorrow is changed with the next day. Will or shall will be changed with would. And that is all of the first passage.
And example 2.
Zaman said to me, "Have you finished reading the book I gave you yesterday?" Yes, I finished reading the book. What an interesting book it is. I wish I would borrow the book earlier. I said. Will you return the book to me today? He said. Look at the answer. Zaman asked me if I had finished reading the book. Here the changes. Said is changed into asked, and interrogative sentence when auxiliary verb, then you have to write if. As the tense was present perfect, we have to change the tense in past perfect. So had finished. After that, he had given me the previous day is the change of I gave you yesterday. I is replaced with he, gave is changed with had given, and yesterday is the previous day. You is changed with me. Then comes the reply. When it is yes, then you have to write I replied in the affirmative. Then connect the next sentence with that. Then write the extension. I had finished reading the book. Had finished is the change of present perfect have finished. Next sentence with and write and exclaimed with joy that it was a very interesting book. The process of changing exclamatory sentence is exclaimed with joy should be written instead of said. Then connect the next clause with that and transform the exclamatory sentence into assertive. Then make it past. It was a very interesting book. As I have told the next sentence as I wish I would borrow the book earlier in direct form, then you have to add the third speech with further. So the answer is I further wished that I might borrow the book earlier. Would is changed into might, or you can also use would, but you have to change wish into wished. Then connect the clause with that and write the extension. Next, when he again asked me another sentence in interrogative and the sentence was started with will, then you have to write he asked me if. Then you have to write the subject I. Then you have to make will as would. So the answer is if I would return the book to him that day. That day is the change of today. And that is all of the second narration solve.
Now, dear students, I'm going to make you understand the change of reporting verb and connecting words instead of comma and inverted. You can get it in a chart where you have to remember the 5 categories and the starting style of the sentences. Let's have a look. You can get an assertive sentence starting with subject and verb, and you should use told instead of said to. Next, you have to connect the sentences with that. Next comes interrogative sentence, and you have 2 styles to identify an interrogative sentence. It is auxiliary verb and WH question. And easily you can get an interrogative sentence with question mark, that is called interrogation. Next, you have to use asked or inquired instead of said to. And you have to connect if or whether when the sentence is started with auxiliary verb. If the sentence is started with WH question, then you have to write WH question. And next, imperative sentence. An imperative sentence can be started with 3 styles. The styles are, the first one, you can get the sentence with verb, and it will express you many kinds of ordering expression. Like it can express you order, or it can express you advice, or it can express you request or forbid or command. And that is why you have to connect the said to, or you have to write the said to as ordered, advised, in requested, forbid or commanded. Next, connect the clauses with to.
Then comes imperative sentence with let, and you should use suggested instead of said. Then connect the sentence by that. Remember, you have to use should as the sentence is started with let. It's a suggestion. Next, the sentence can be started with let's, and you have to write said to as proposed to. Remember, to is mandatory here. Then use that as connector and write the sentence using should. After that, you will have optative sentence when it can be started with may. Then replace said to with wished or prayed. After that, you have to connect the sentences with that. Remember, optative sentences should be written with might when you are going to write the extension of the sentence. After that, in final, you have exclamatory sentences, which can start in 3 styles. Look at the styles. An exclamatory sentence can be started with what or how. Then you will have the exclamation at the last of the sentence. Or the exclamatory sentence can be started with interjection. Hurrah, alas, oh, ah, fine. These are the expressions. And after that, you have to replace said with exclaimed with joy, wonder, sorrow, or grief, or surprise. Remember, you have to understand the expression of the exclamatory sentence. And then you have to connect the clauses with that. And after that, make the sentence as assertive and change the tense and write the extension. That is the shortcut chart of a narrative style, making a direct speech into indirect speech. You have to memorize and you have to recall this chart time and time. Thank you.
That is all of narration today. Thank you very much for attending the video. Bye bye.